A very good morning to all our viewers. It's bright and early, and we're glad that you've joined us live here on Moneycontrol. You're watching Newspresso with me, Stacey Pereira. Well, in the next few minutes, we're going to be giving you a lowdown of all the top stories that are making headlines, be it international, be it here in India, all of those earnings. We're going to be breaking down those numbers for you, as well as the latest trends, giving you that edge and keeping you informed ahead of the others. So let's get straight to it and get you what we're getting from our global dispatch. Well, indices on Wall Street seem to have closed on a mixed note on Friday as traders assess the latest corporate earnings that are trickling in the U.S. But we did see the Dow Jones Industrial Average stretching its winning streak for 10 straight sessions. Now, this is the first such winning streak that we've seen since August of 2017. On a weekly basis, though, the S&P 500 added about 0.69%, whereas the Dow Jones, that one gaining over 2%. Now, it was the second positive week in a row for both these indexes to have gained, whereas the Nasdaq, that one fell by 0.5% for this same period. More importantly, we are going to see the Nasdaq 100 rebalance take place today. That will be effective from today, and which is why we're seeing portfolio managers recalibrating those funds. Now, on the earnings front, we do have so far 75% of the S&P 500 companies that have reported their earnings, which are exceeding analyst expectations, according to FactSet's data. And in Europe, barring the German DAX, all major indices closed higher on Friday. The Pan-European Stock 600 managed to close up higher just by about 0.3%. Most of the sectors were in the positive territory, though. Household goods, those stocks were the ones that were gaining about 1.2%, whereas mining stocks, those ones shared about 1.5% in trade on Friday. Investors are keeping a close track on the political developments that are transpiring in different countries around there. In UK, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservative Party suffered a heavy blow in a series of by-elections that took place on Thursday. And speaking of political developments, well, waving Spain's red and yellow flags and shouting slogans, joyful supporters of Fijo People's Party, or PP as it's called, flooded Madrid streets to celebrate the outcome of the national elections that took place yesterday. But the country's political future still remains unclear. Spain's opposition right wing has won the elections with 100% of the votes now counted, but it has failed to secure a parliamentary majority. After winning the election, Alberto Núñez Fijo said that his top priority was to open negotiations with all parties to govern the country. With 99% of the vote counted as of 11:45 p.m. last night, it had about 136 seats, while Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, the ruling socialist or PSOE, had about 122 seats. Now, negotiations by both blocs to form the government will start, and the government will take place. Now, if you look at Asia, well, those markets are trading a mix this morning ahead of the slew of economic data that is expected from the region, including inflation numbers from Malaysia as well as Singapore. In Japan, the Nikkei 225 has gained almost close to 1% at the start of the week. To start the week in the green, one would say Australia's S&P ASX 200 is also trading positive. This given, even though the composite PMI for July for Australia has fallen into the contraction territory for the first time since March. If you look at South Korea's Kospi, that is trading mildly in the green, whereas the Hang Seng, that one is facing the heat and has opened in the red. If you look at the Gift Nifty, that is indicating a muted start for the Indian equities as well. And in the commodities space, crude prices have been on the boil ever since Friday. It saw the rate rise more than $1 per barrel, with Brent crude now trading near the $81 per barrel mark. Prices have, in fact, been buoyed by the growing evidence of supply shortages in the coming months, as well as the rising tensions between Russia and Ukraine that could further hit supplies. Now, on Friday, we did see China, whose authorities have now unveiled a plan to boost sales of automobiles as well as electronics, and investors have welcomed this stimulus measure designed in order to invigorate China's sluggish economy. Now, the data from the world's second biggest oil consumer suggests that the government's 5% annual growth target, or GDP, that China has set might perhaps be missed, though. And we're talking about climate change. The world's biggest permafrost is thawing as our planet gets warmer each year. Now, the permafrost is located in Russia's far east. The locals say that it first started thawing sometime in 1970s and had formed a ravine, and later it expanded during the summers. But this thawing of permafrost has been attracting quite a bit of tourists in the area to see what's going on. However, according to scientists, the slump's expansion is a sign of danger. Now, some locals also call the permafrost as a gateway to the underworld, but it also goes by a more scientific name that is called a mega slump. Now, according to scientists, Russia is melting at least 2.5 times faster than the rest of the world. Now, this melting of the permafrost will also release greenhouse gases, which are stored in the thawed soil and which could be more of a danger. And let's get a sense of what we have set up for trade today and how the week went by, where we did have major events on the domestic front, which will be mostly concentrated on the quarterly earnings that are expected to flow in. Around 380 companies will release their quarterly numbers this week. But going by Friday's performance, more volatility is what is expected on the Lal Street. Nifty 50 snapping its six-day running ending week by about 243 points, whereas you did see the Sensex losing over 800 points. Now, it was the Nifty IT index that was the biggest drag, down by about 4%, mostly bogged down by Infosys, which slashed its forward guidance. If you look at the broader markets, those ones showed some respite. We saw the BSE small cap closing in the green, whereas everyone else was in the red. As for the primary markets, we do have 5 public issues worth about 857 crores, which will be hitting the Lal Street, along with 3 listings that will happen this week. And the markets will firstly be reacting to all those quarterly numbers that we saw. Reliance Industries, ICICI Bank, Kotak Mahindra, all of them announcing their results through Friday and Saturday. So let's give you some of those highlights that we can get for you. Let's start with ICICI Bank. Well, we did see the net profits are up about 40% at 9,648 crores. Asset quality, in fact, has improved. GNPAs have declined to 2.76% from the 3.4% for the same period a year ago. As if you look at Kotak Mahindra Bank, now that one, there its standalone profits, net profits have zoomed in almost 66%. While its net interest income, or NIIs, the difference between the interest income earned from loans, well as lending activities, is the interest paid to the depositors. That one has increased to about coming in at 6,234 crores, up 33% on a year-on-year basis. Now, if you look at Yes Bank, those ones also posted its numbers over the weekend, and the private lender saw only a 10% growth in profits and showed some great improvement if you have to look at in the asset quality, where its GNPAs have fallen to a mere 2% versus the 13.4% it saw on a YOY basis. And finally, if you have to talk about fintech, Paytm too reported its results on Friday and has managed to narrow its losses in Q1 to 357 crore rupees versus a 644 crore over a year ago. However, the losses have widened when you compare it to the 168 crores it reported in the preceding quarter of March. Now, revenues from operations too during the quarter have risen 39% to 2,342 crores. And well, those were all the banking and fintech earnings. We also had Big Boy Reliance, which reported its numbers, seeing a 6% year-on-year drop in its net profit and a 4.7% fall in its revenue for the quarter ending June of 23. This mostly owing to the muted performance in the oil-to-chemical business, or O2C business as we call it, even as the retail and telecom businesses, those one continued their rapid growth. Now, consolidated net profit, which is attributable to shareholders, stood at about 16,011 crore rupees in June, which is down about 11%, while the consolidated total revenue in the June quarter declined to came to about 2.31 lakh crore rupees. Now, meanwhile, you also had Jio Platforms, which houses Reliance's telecom and digital businesses. That saw a 12.5% growth in its profits and 11.3% growth in revenues. And if you look at Isha Ambani-led Reliance Retail, that business saw a net profit growth of 18.8% revenue, whereas a revenue growth of 20.5%. Now, the quarter also recorded the highest ever footfall of 200 149 million across all the formats in the Reliance retail business. And to more corporate stories and M&A in Deal Street that is transpiring. Now, top global private equity firm Bain Capital has in fact entered into a definitive agreement to acquire 90% of Adani Capital and Adani Housing. Now, the transaction will buy out 100% of Adani family's private investment in the company, with Gaurav Gupta fully rolling out his stake in the company, but will continue to serve as the managing director and CEO. Now, Bain Capital has also committed a $120 billion primary capital to facilitate the company's ongoing growth, and additionally, it will provide liquidity line of $50 million in the form of non-convertible debentures. Now, the transaction is expected to close by Q4 of 2023, pending the necessary regulatory and market approvals. Let's also get you up to speed with all that's transpiring in the world across India. In fact, we've been seeing July that has seen really heavy rains lash across the countries, and there's no respite. Landslide, flash floods, excessive rainfall has led to many casualties across the country. In Gujarat, Junagadh and other parts have seen flood-like situations, where Junagadh has received about 9 inches of rainfall between just 10 to 4 p.m. on Saturday. Now, Junagadh is one of the worst hit places after the flash floods. We also heard from Home Minister Amit Shah, who assured through Twitter that ample of NDRF and SDRF teams have been deployed on the ground to monitor the situation. Well, several vehicles were damaged, and even LPG cylinders were seen floating amidst the rainfall, amidst the floods that have been there. Meanwhile, in Delhi, the water levels of the Yamuna River continue to fluctuate due to the water discharge. Delhi is still under the high flood alert. And for all the trends that you need to be looking out for, well, Twitter CEO Elon Musk is back with the newest, and this time he says that he's planning to change the iconic Twitter logo. That little bird that used to placed up there, that blue bird, will be replaced with the sign of an X. Now, Musk went on to tweet that as soon as we shall bid adieu to the Twitter brand and gradually all the birds. In another post early on Sunday, the social media platform billionaire owner added that if a good enough X logo is posted tonight, we'll make it and go live worldwide tomorrow. Just few hours back, even Musk tweeted that the X.com now points to Twitter.com. Interim X logo goes live today. Under Musk's tumultuous tenure, well, since he bought Twitter in October, the company has changed its business name to X Corp. Now, it reflects the billionaire's vision to create a super app like China's WeChat. And now, we did promise you on Friday that we'd be back today with the box office numbers for those big Hollywood releases over the weekend. And despite the tickets being sold at high prices, both movies, Barbie as well as Oppenheimer, ran shows with tickets being sold out. Now, the overwhelming response over the weekend, we did see Cillian Murphy's Oppenheimer got into some kind of controversies after reading of that Gita during that sex scene was something that was brought up. Now, the film has also left Barbie far behind in the box office. In India, Oppenheimer bagged 50 crores in the opening weekend, while Barbie made 18.50 crores over the weekend. But when you look at the international numbers, Barbie has way surpassed Oppenheimer. Barbie smashed expectations with a $155 million box office collection, which has landed at its biggest debut of the year, while Oppenheimer has come in at $174.2 million. Well, what you need to be looking out for on the banking earnings corner, we do have Canara Bank, IDBI Bank releasing their numbers today. So you need to be looking out for earnings as well as all that transpired over the weekend. We are going to be breaking down all those numbers at 11 a.m. on Moneycontrol. So stay tuned for that. We also have Madhvi Puri Butch, the chairperson of SEBI, who will be conducting a SEBI press conference at 4 p.m. So you need to look out for what's perhaps coming. Remember, there was those total expense ratio discussion discussions over that, so maybe we could hear some announcement there. And we also have Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, who will be presiding over the 164th Income Tax Day celebrations. So you can look out for all of those through the day for today. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Newspresso. Hope this dose was informative and useful and gives you that kickstart through the week. It's a Monday morning. Hopefully, we do not have those blues, a lot to be looking forward to. But with everyone putting this show together, thanks so much for tuning in.